Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today for our internship panel. My name is Reagan, and I'll be serving as your moderator. We're excited to have three panelists with us who recently completed internships and are here to share their experience, lessons learned, challenges, and advice. Today is a great opportunity to hear firsthand what internship work looks like, the projects that you may be responsible for, other responsibilities you may take on, and skills that can help you make the most of your experience. Thank you again for being here, and let's get started. So to have us get started, I'll have each of our panelists introduce themselves. So Adrian, let's begin with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I see a lot of UHCL students, which is amazing. My name is Adrian Paravis. I'm a second-year graduate student at the University of Houston Clear Lake, pursuing a joint MHA MBA degree. I've been blessed to have been afforded six different internship opportunities with six different health systems, and so I'm excited to share what I've learned so far.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabby. I'm also a UHCL student. I'm in my second year, and I've completed two internship opportunities, one at the Harris Center and one at UTMB down in Galveston.
Hi everyone, my name is Trisha Shah, and I am an MBA student specializing in healthcare leadership and human resource management at the University of Houston main campus. I've had the privilege of interning at four different healthcare organizations. Two of them were large hospital systems, and so I'm super excited to be here. So thank you all for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you each for introducing yourselves. So my name is Reagan Dunn, and I'm the current administrative fellow at UTMB Health, where I work closely with executive and senior leadership to support operations, system-wide initiatives, including the development of our health administration internship program. I recently earned my Master's of Health Administration from Texas A&M, and before joining UTMB, I completed an internship with Texas Children's Global Health Network, where I supported administrative initiatives with both Texas Children's and Baylor College of Medicine. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into our questions. So for our first question, would one of our panelists share what is a high-level overview of your internship experience at your organization?
I'll go ahead and take this question, Reagan. Thank you. Well, first, I do want to say that internship is definitely a gateway into seeing an organization as a whole. And that's just the lens that I specifically take, is getting to know and learn the department that you're assigned to before really branching out to learn and observe the organization as it functions. It's also a great way to definitely practice those soft skills and learn new platforms or even different procedures that you might not have been exposed to before. An example, when I was at UTMB, I was assigned to the quality department, but there was definitely a lot of cross-departmental work, not just with other departments of UTMB, but along with other interns as well.
Great, thank you, Gabby. All right, for our next question, what did a typical day look like in your role as an intern?
I can take this one. So over the summer, I interned at Houston Methodist. I was with their physician organization, and my days were honestly pretty different each day, depending on the specific projects I was working on or the meetings that I had that day. And I personally really liked that. I like the variety. But on a more like broader general level, my days were a pretty even mix of like independent project work, collaborative project work, meetings. I would throw in informational interviews now and then. And so, as you can imagine, it was a lot of kind of sitting at my desk. But to make it a little bit more kind of entertaining, I guess, because I'm not a huge fan of just sitting at my desk all day. I would take my meetings from different conference rooms, or I would eat lunch outside. Um, just something to make my day a little bit more different so that I wasn't just doing the same thing every day. And I found that I really enjoyed that kind of change in scenery. So that was really fun for me.
Awesome, that's a great perspective. Thank you. Okay, for our next question, would one of our panelists describe a key project they worked on or responsibility held that meaningfully contributed to your organization's goals?
I'll take this one since, my So for me, I see a couple MD Anderson folks on the call. And so when I interned at MD Anderson, one of the big projects we worked on myself and my co-intern Mary, was an accreditation project. I can't disclose which accreditation because it hasn't been announced yet, but we were in charge of getting all of the research done to figure out what was needed to get accredited. So we were in charge of making the slide deck that ultimately would be presented to the surveyor. We were in charge of organizing all the material that the surveyor is going to review. Because what I was told, like, in every internship I've been a part of, is that someone can say yes to the content but no to the presentation. So it was a huge project for us because I mean surveyors and accreditation, it leads to more patients coming and trusting your organization. And so that project was I mean when it hits the news that we got approved for the accreditation, I'll definitely be reposting it on my LinkedIn. But just to be exposed to that kind of work, not only just research, but putting it together and then putting it into a presentation, like a slide deck. It was super impactful.
That's a great perspective, Adrian. I know when you're working an internship, it can be really hard sometimes to leave when you're in the middle of those projects that are long term. But then when you get to look back and you see something posted, or like you said, you see something in the news, it really makes it worthwhile and you get to know, wow, I made an impact on that project and I got to be a part of that. So it's definitely a great experience. Okay, for our next question, what was the most rewarding aspect of your internship and how did it align with your personal or professional goals?
Oh, I can take this. So there are two things that stood out to me that were really rewarding. So number one was seeing that the work that I was doing actually had an impact on the organization. So for example, not to go into too many details, but one of the projects that we did was to analyze claims data and recommend service lines for an upcoming comprehensive care center. And I recently got a text message saying like, hey, Trisha, some of the service lines that y'all recommended in your presentation did actually eventually get added to the center. And so that was super cool to see that like, oh, the work that we did was actually beneficial to the organization. And then number two, I just got to meet so many cool people and ask them about their career journeys and learn more about healthcare as a field. And I absolutely loved that. I thought that was super cool, really fulfilling for me personally. And professionally, it reassured me that I belong in roles where like collaboration and supporting others and stuff is at the center of the work. Because I found through these internship experiences that that is kind of what I enjoy and what I like to do. So, yep.
Awesome. Such a great perspective. Okay, our next question. What are some of the biggest challenges you encountered during your internship and how did you overcome them? This could be personal, professional.
I'll go ahead and answer this one, Reagan. And I do have a personal and professional view or take on this question. First of all, I do want to say thinking ahead as a leader, a challenge would be working with different personalities and backgrounds. And as an intern, I assume the role of what do I need to do to help you, not the other way around, right? I'm there to help them because it helps me learn. So definitely getting to learn the people that I'm around in the department, to see how I can better support them, not just wait for an assignment, so to speak. That takes some time, and it's definitely also a skill builder because you have to take the time to listen and really understand those people in the department. Secondly, and this is a more interesting one for me anyway. I know we're all used to seeing AI, especially in the classroom, and how we've already kind of learned and been more thorough to use it there. It has infinite uses in healthcare. So that has been kind of scary and challenging for me because one, I don't know how to use it on such a broad scale. So having to apply it to a data set or compiling metrics and then manipulating it so that it spits out the information that you want and how you want it without being not credible. So that's one thing that I found was very challenging yet interesting. And it's a language that we can't necessarily avoid. It's just we kind of have to embrace it to keep moving forward. And as scary as that sounds, that it's going to be involved in everything that we touch, it's simply being open to the idea it will be.
Thank you, Gabby. Such great points you made, both of them. Speaking from experience, one of the best things you can do is take the time to understand the different leaders that are in the room, the different teammates you are working with. That's going to make an impact just overall in all of the work you do. It's going to make them more successful, you more successful if you're able to understand and communicate in a better way. And then to your point about AI, it is scary, it is challenging. Even in healthcare, we are currently trying to figure out how do we use it, what level do we use it at. So very challenging, a very tricky subject, but one, like you said, has immense use in healthcare. Okay, our next question. Which aspect of the internship program were most beneficial to you personally or professional in your development?
I can take this one because, like I said, I've done 6 in the past since January is when I started the program. So pretty much one every semester. And what's been the most beneficial and the reason why I enjoy internships so much is because they focus on learning and teaching you every step of the way. And for me, the most beneficial part of an internship is, I mean, it depends on the organization, but I really feel like it's been the autonomy that I've been provided. And I'm able to shape the direction I want the internship to go with the help of my preceptors and the support of them, of course. But the autonomy has been the most beneficial because it allows me to, if I'm weak in this area, I tell my preceptor I would like some more experience in this area. And they're super supportive. And I know I'm sure we'll get to a question about the support of preceptors, but the autonomy has been the most beneficial when it comes to internship experiences.
Thank you so much. And that's such a great perspective coming from multiple panelists, all of our panelists who have had multiple internships. So, being able to utilize those experiences to your benefit definitely makes a lasting impact. Okay. For the next question, did you have opportunities to observe or participate in leadership or decision-making processes? What did you take away from those experiences? I think that this question is actually one that I would like all of our panelists to answer since y'all do have such great experiences and probably different views on all of your experiences.
Yeah, and I'll start it off because I think one of the biggest misconceptions of an internship is that you don't get exposed to that much. And for me, at least, my first day of my first internship last summer, I was in the room with the executive VP, a regional vice president, along with my preceptor. And the first question that was thrown was to me, and it was about should we open another hospital in this area? This is my first day as an intern, and you throw this question at me. I genuinely froze, and I. But what I learned from that was that I need to come to the meetings prepared, even if it's one of those curveball questions. Because I mean, you have to be strong in your beliefs at the end of the day. But coming prepared is what that experience taught me. And each internship, I've actually been with executive leaders, and they provide you that exposure, which has been super beneficial.
Yes, I'd like to second that, Adrian, because I would say expect to on your first day for your calendar to be filled almost immediately. My recently done internship at UTMB, we first day were assigned a class every Monday, not to mention all the other meetings for the department that I was in. And it's more so having the mindset of willing and exploring those areas where a meeting can take you a long way to being in a room, like Adrian said, with your executive leaders. And although it can be scary, it's also riskless, so to say, because you can be there as an intern and learn and apply those classroom skills of critical thinking and analyzing to make that experience more for you. So at the end of the day, if you learn anything from me, it's just be willing and open-minded. Not all meetings are boring. There's definitely like a learning curve to each one.
Very well said. I have only a little bit more to add. I think I also had the opportunity to be a part of leadership and decision making processes and stuff like that. And um, it was it was very eye-opening for me to see it happen in real life because when you're sitting in a classroom, there's only so much you're going to learn. But when you go into like when you're in the room, it's so different sometimes. And it was just really interesting for me to be there. And I think the biggest takeaway, I guess, for me was seeing how much leaders truly rely on communication and the emotional intelligence that they have. Decisions that they were making were not always about just like the metrics, right? And the money. They were talking about people and how would one decision affect this and this and this person and this other person. And it taught me that good leadership is so much more than just technical skills. You need to really be able to listen and you have to have the ability to bring different perspectives together when you're making these decisions. And I don't think I would have, I guess, had the opportunity if it wasn't for the internships that I've done. So super grateful for it. I think I've learned a lot, and I'm excited for whatever else is to come.
Great. Thank you all. Such good perspectives again. Yeah, I think that they all made very good points. When you have the opportunity to be in the room with high level leadership, especially multiple leaders, then there's so much you can take away from it. Just knowing your style, how you're going to learn the best, knowing when the right time to ask questions is, or to have conversations later to understand things that were being discussed. Those aren't opportunities that you're going to have post internship. So really take advantage of it while you can. Another great thing that I think is pay attention to the way the leaders are interacting and the way that they're speaking of the organization and the other leaders and frontline staff that are in the organization. And these internships are a way for you to analyze and look and see, is this a place that I could see myself post internship? So while you're in the room with those high level leadership, while you have the opportunity to see how things are being run, how people are communicating, how people are treating each other, really pay attention to that and use that to your advantage for the future. All right, our next question. How did your
Well,
preceptor
let
or
me add
mentor?
to that,
Yeah,
Reagan.
of
Can I
course.
add? Because when I was at Cleveland Clinic, this is the #2 hospital in the world, they told me that I'm not known by my title, I'm known by my name and abilities. And an intern can actually make an influential person in the room when these decisions are made. So I want people to remember that you're not known for your title, you're known for your name and abilities.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so how did your preceptor or mentor support your growth during the internship?
I'm sure everyone can talk very highly of their preceptors. Mine, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, any weakness I thought I had or he even saw in me, he always deferred me to expertise. That was his saying, defer to expertise. And what he meant by that was he would schedule meetings with me, for me, to meet with the leaders who are overseeing these different departments that I'm not so aware of. So, like for instance, environmental services. You hear a lot. I mean, you actually don't hear. They're the unsung heroes of the hospital when it comes to sanitation and making sure the hospital's clean, right? So I wanted to know more about EVS, and so he scheduled a meeting with the department leader of EVS at Houston Methodist. His name's Mohammed. And sure enough, Mohammed told me that EVS is done by square footage there. You would think it's by, beds or stuff like that, but it's really not because you have administrative side, not just the clinical side. And so my preceptor was always one step ahead of me when it came to building my skill set.
Gabby or Trisha, do y'all have anything to add to that one from your perspective?
Yeah, I'll add a bit there. I will say that all preceptors, unless they're voluntold, are usually more than welcoming to their interns. And major open door policy with anything and literally anything that can happen during the internship. I do remember my first internship at center. There was a family emergency that happened that I needed to just be out and be able to attend to my family, and all I did was talk to my preceptor about it, and he's like, okay, well, while you're out, we can still keep you busy if that's what you want. And it's just having that communication. They're usually very welcoming and still want to pour into your growth by doing so. Just communicating that, hey, while I might not be here in person, I can still access things and do things at home. So it's that balance and compromise, especially if you meet them with what they're wanting to give you, they're just going to keep pouring into you. And to this day, I still talk to my preceptors along with my cohort also.
Yeah, no, I relate to that as well. I had a very supportive preceptor. I always have. Have been very lucky with the people that I got to call my preceptors and mentors. And like Abby said, to this day, I still get to keep in contact with them. And every now and then they're like, "Oh, like Trisha, what's going on? Like, how's life treating you? And how's your professional journey going?" And I think it has been very beneficial for myself personally, but also professionally, just because you always know that you have somebody who has your back, and that's always a nice feeling to have. And so I think as an incoming intern, if you are kind of worried about how that's going to go, I think all three of us or all four of us here would be able to tell you that I'm sure it'll be great. Your preceptors and mentors are preceptors and mentors for a reason, if that makes sense. They are more than willing to support you and put in effort into you. And they want to see you succeed. So always, go talk to them, and I'm sure they'll be more than willing to accommodate.
Absolutely. Thank you all. How did your internship help you clarify what type of role or career path you would want to pursue in health administration?
I can answer this one. So, um, something that I really value in my internship experiences is networking and being able to reach out to others and learn more about their role. So while I was interning at Houston Methodist, I was also just randomly reaching out to people for informational interviews to learn more about them and their roles in the different departments, especially in a hospital setting, because there are so many different roles and departments. It's really difficult to know what all of them are and what people do unless you ask, right? And so one example I was just looking at the org chart and I came across organizational development. And personally, I did not at the time know really anything about it. And so I reached out to some people, asked them for informational interviews, and they were more than happy to have a conversation. And through the conversations I had, I ended up developing an interest in that area. And now I think I want to pursue that. And so I think the fact that I had access to the org chart and these people, and I was encouraged to explore and reach out to them, really helped me find that and develop that interest, which I wouldn't have if I didn't take advantage of that, and if I didn't have like the desire to go out and talk to people.
Great. Thank you, Trisha. What surprised you most about working in a healthcare organization compared to what you expected from the classroom?
I like this question, so I'm going to answer it. First off, it's a complete 180. Textbook and reality, it's an immediate humbling experience, especially if you're going into an internship as your first time setting foot in the healthcare space, whether that's clinical or administrative. It's a complete lens, different lens to look through. I do work in the clinical space. I'm a physical therapy tech, and stepping out of that role and into an administrative role, it's two different things. And while I'm very grateful to have the experience on the clinic, it's still very hard to just learn the textbook in the classroom, listen to your professor speak all the greatness of their healthcare without experiencing it yourself. And for that very reason, I would encourage everyone to seek at least one internship opportunity, whether that's over the summer or even like half a semester or even observing. You can still ask those questions, the same questions that you would ask in class, or the topics that make your mind churn, and ask those very same things actively in the administrative space for an internship, and you get a completely different and probably more accurate answer or even thought process to move forward with that. So learning in the classroom is one thing, and it's great because we do need that information as a background, so at least it connects the terminology for you. But the experience of an internship is nothing compared to what you would learn in the classroom. The classroom is your gateway to understanding what's about to happen in this internship.
Absolutely, Gabby. And just to expand on that, in my role right now, you can see that healthcare changes from one day to the next. I will show up tomorrow and we will be experiencing completely different things. There will be new issues that arise. Technology will have advanced even more. And so, one of the things to keep in mind is the classroom is a great place to, like Gabby said, build that foundation, build that knowledge, but still be aware that a lot of the information you are learning is going to be about 5 to 10 years behind. And that's not a bad thing, that's a good foundational block, but things change so fast that books and classroom just can't keep up with that. So being able to have these internship experiences to bridge that classroom foundational knowledge with real life, day-to-day, continuously changing experiences is really going to set you apart when you're looking for a career post graduation. All right. And then next question, what skills or knowledge do you wish that you had before starting your internship that would have helped you be more successful?
I can answer this one. For me, you see people that are really good note takers, also that keep their calendar up to date. Um, uh, I'm not one of those people, unfortunately. I put everything in my notes on my phone app. But through these internships, I've realized that, that's not gonna cut it. You have to keep your calendar up to date because people are trying to schedule meetings with you. And then if you don't keep your calendar up to date, then you're overlapping meetings, you're having to cancel stuff last minute. I'm on the board of regents for the University of Houston system, so I'm constantly getting emails to schedule meetings, and my office staff thankfully schedules them for me, but they need to know my availability. And so, but it all, the foundation really started through these internships, seeing how the executives work. Because if I think I have a lot of meetings, these executives are in meetings all day. You don't really realize how they get their work done, right? Because they have meetings all day. But keeping on top of your tasks, making a daily to-do list, your top 3 initiatives. I think those are all things that I've learned through the internships that I've gone through. Even keeping like the to-do list, I mark it off as I complete them. That way it's kind of like an accomplishment and reward for me.
Thank you. Okay. What tips or strategies would you recommend to the students who are about to begin their internships to help them make the most of their opportunity?
I can take this one. So one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give is definitely to go into your internship with curiosity and a desire to learn, right? Asking questions, of course. Adrian mentioned taking notes. I definitely second that. Taking notes is super important. Taking initiative, always. Everybody loves people who are curious and want to do more and want to take more on. And as I mentioned earlier, I really value building relationships. So don't be afraid to reach out and introduce yourself to people within the department, of course, but also just across the organization, right? Because that's a really good way to learn. It's a really good way to expose yourself to different areas. And who knows, maybe you might discover, interests that you didn't know that you had before. And so just go in with an open mind, really take advantage of the resources that you have and the time that you have with your organization, because you are given a lot while you are there. And so make sure that you take full advantage of that. And that's the best way, I think, in my opinion, that you'll learn.
Great. Thank you, Trisha. Our next question is, what advice do you have for interns trying to stand out or make a meaningful impact during a short internship period?
I'll go ahead and answer this one, and I'm going to piggyback off of Trisha there. She said a lot of wonderful things that all come down to just simply being a human being. I personally rely on my personality to be willing and be open and to develop those chips better. I don't necessarily think I'm the smartest or the most innovative or the best critical thinker out there. So I definitely rely on my personality and having those people skills to make that impact. And this is also a great place because if an internship is a couple weeks, it's a great place
Gabby, I think you froze. Are you still there? Okay, we'll move on to our next question, and then if Gabby's able to join back, we will go back to her. But I would like each of our panelists to answer these next few questions for me, just to give our participants and audience some different perspective. So, what did each of you look for in an internship experience?
For me, I really rely on the interns that have already done it. Like say for Houston Methodist, the summer internship, I asked the previous interns, not all of them, of course, you can't reach all of them, but a couple of them I asked, what did you take away from it? Is it worth, not if it's worth applying, but is it worth the summer? Because you have so many options, right? So which do you choose from? Thankfully, they were all responsive and transparent and honest with me. And so I'm always looking for where can I grow the most? At Houston Methodist, I felt like I could grow the most because they had weekly executive roundtables. They had a structure in place. Some of the interns have gone on to become fellows at other organizations. So they've developed a program that develops leaders and grows their potential. And it shows through their track record. And so I'm looking for opportunities that can help me grow and that are proven and growing people.
So coincidentally, I basically did the exact same thing. I reached out to past interns to learn more about their experiences. And based on the conversations that I had with them, I ended up making like a priorities list, I guess, of things that um, are at the top of my list were like non-negotiables, right? So stuff as basic as, oh, I want an internship in healthcare, or oh, I want to work in a hospital setting. And then in the middle of my list were things that would be nice, but it wasn't a deal breaker for me. And then at the bottom of my list was just like, oh, stuff like work from home. Like that would be really good, but if it's not an option, like that's fine. Like I'm perfectly okay with accepting an internship, um, if even if there's no work from home option. But point being, this priorities list was more of just like a self-awareness test for me of do I know what I want in a internship and like what I um desire and how I prioritize that. Do I know what I want to rank above the others? Because I know that there's trade-offs that come with it, right? Chances are you're not going to get an internship that's going to mark every single one of your boxes. And that's fine, but what are you willing to give up and what are you willing to, or what do you not want to give up? So that's kind of how I went about the process and what I was looking for in the internship.
Great, thank you. I'll provide some insight and then Gabby will go to you and then we'll also go back to your question. So for me personally, I had two internships in the past. And my first one, I knew I wanted to go into health administration, but I felt it was really important to still be able to understand the provider's perspective and the interrelationship between patient and doctor. And so what I did was I actually worked with a primary care physician and I was his intern. I went and I shadowed him and was kind of the person in the room whenever, he would have a family or a woman in the room, then I was the person that went in with him to act as, I can't think of the word right now, but to act as that person to protect both sides of things. And then my next internship, I was really interested in children's and women's care. And so I did an internship, like I said, with Texas Children's. And that was really a very unique experience coming from a global health perspective. But I just wanted to solidify, is this where I could see myself working? And, what type of organization do I want to be in? Do I want to focus more rural or do I want to focus on more of an urban population? And so just being able to have those different experiences really helped me solidify what I wanted to do in the future and gave me some insight into where I see myself as a leader and what type of organization I want to be in. So, Gabby, what do you look for in internship opportunities in an internship experience?
One that's going to make me most uncomfortable. I'm constantly looking for those challenges and a space where I am not comfortable. If I am comfortable, it means it's time to get up and it's time to move. And that's even with work or school or even networking. If like I've already gotten comfortable with a certain group of people or an area or a topic, then it's time to move on to something else. And that's how I determined which, where, and how I would approach an internship. Right now, because I do I will be applying for a third internship just to see what else is out there. I mean, I've one of my internships was in human resources and the other was in quality. And while I felt like I fell in love with both of those and I said, this is the path I'm going to take, I mean, who knows? Maybe the third one will also give me that same feeling, but maybe even with the job opportunity, it's simply remaining uncomfortable at all times for me is what really draws me to that opportunity.
That's a great perspective, Gabby. Okay, going back to our last question we had for you, Gabby, what advice do you have for interns trying to stand out or make a meaningful impact during their short period of an internship?
Be willing. And one thing you will often hear me say is why not with two question marks. I mean, question marks, exclamation points. Why not? Why not just experience something that you haven't before? Leverage what is your like your strengths, leverage your strengths. Like I mentioned before, my strength is definitely my personality and people facing. And that's how I've been able to make an impact and, like Adrian said, have my name recognized. It's simply taking the time to meet people on a personal level outside of your internship duties. That doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, go take everybody out to dinner, but I mean, take the time to say good morning, how's your day been, how's the family, did your son get all his things packed up and ready to go for college, like how was your mother's birthday this past weekend. Those little details go a long way, especially an intern, to make those connections and relationships. That's probably the fastest way to really get noticed, because those are the finer details that come across that you don't necessarily have to take notes on, but people appreciate being noticed as a human and not as an employee or a staff member. So leverage those skills that you already have to make a great impact where you go.
Great, thank you, Gabby. Okay, a next question for all of our panelists. Where can you find internship opportunities, or where did you each look for opportunities?
So when I started the program, UHCL requires you to make a LinkedIn. And so I made my LinkedIn back in January. And from there, oh, sorry, my people just got here. From there, I pretty much just looked on the jobs uh, tab, and I happened to see UTMB, I think, posted the administrative internship last summer there, and I applied, and thankfully I got it. And then I did it again, and I got the Cleveland Clinic one. And then I did it again. I got the Texas Department of State one, and then I did it again. So it's just all been LinkedIn. Thankfully, it's pretty convenient, especially um, LinkedIn sometimes offers you the opportunity to reach out to the hiring manager, and leaves a good impression if you do, because you'll be fresh mind, I guess. You'll be top of mind because they'll recognize your name.
So apart from LinkedIn, I have gotten a lot of my opportunities just through the people that I know. So the very first one that I got with Houston Methodist, that was through LinkedIn. I'd found a picture of the interns from last year, and I'd reached out to them, and they had given me the contact information of their preceptor. And I actually went into that meeting not knowing that she was the director or the coordinator of the internship program. So I got super lucky with that one because I just asked her for an informational interview the way that I asked so many other people. And when it came time for applications, I found out that she was the one who was in charge of the program, and so that worked out really well in my favor. But apart from that, other opportunities that I've received have been just through word of mouth, through other people. People have come up to me and said, "Hey, Trisha, I think you'd be a really good fit for X, Y, and Z. Are you interested in applying?" And of course, I would say yes, of course. And then from there you go through the process, and it for me has worked out really well so far. So I think moving forward, that would be one of the best ways for me that I think I would go about it, is simply just reaching out to people, talking to them, asking them if they know anybody, have any availabilities anywhere. And it seems to work well. So I would say LinkedIn, and then also just like your networking and your connections.
What I have to say is nothing like groundbreaking. If you don't already do this, I suggest you do this on a regular. Check your emails. A lot of, especially with our schools being in the medical center, a lot of these organizations already have connections with the schools in the medical center. So chances are either the department chair or whoever coordinates your internships. I know for UHCL, that's one of the ways it works is internships are advertised and notified to students through our emails. Aside from regularly checking your emails, I did attend an ACHE event and got an internship simply because I had been involved, and the person that was recruiting at that time was like, hey, I like your dedication to the chapter and X, Y, and Z, and have you considered doing an internship? Because I think the route that you should take. And I'm like, of course. I wasn't until like next semester, but yeah, let's do it again. Why not? And that's how I've been able to get one internship. And the second one, like Trisha said, it's just making those connections and getting to know the people around you, because they might just see you for their organization. And don't be afraid to have that conversation with someone.
Perfect. Here in just a moment, we're going to open up the floor to questions. So begin thinking about some questions to ask our panelists. You can either enter them in the chat or unmute yourself. But before we get to questions, as we close, I would like each panelist to share one thing you hope future interns will keep in mind to make the most of their experience.
I'll go ahead and touch base on this. I'm not going to give like a lengthy speech of any kind. Just always remember why not. Just be willing to be open to a new experience. You'll never know where that in itself will take you. So at the end of the day, why not have another experience?
I can add next. I would say that your value isn't necessarily always based on how much you already know, right? Yes, experience is important and it's valuable and all of that, but your value is also very highly based on your willingness to learn. And so as much as experience is very important, don't get me wrong, I'm not at all saying experience is not important, but as an intern, nobody expects you to have all of the answers. So what matters most, in my opinion, is just being curious, being engaged, professional, of course, and eager to contribute. Because if you can show that you are willing to learn and that you're passionate about what you are doing, people will be more willing to take a chance on you. And I think that has been kind of how and why I've gotten a lot of the opportunities that I have, because I went into my master's program directly after undergrad. So I didn't have a whole bunch of healthcare experience, and I was super nervous about that because I was like, oh my gosh, I think that puts me like that makes me, not as worthy of an internship, I guess. But when I would interview with people, they would tell me that Trisha, I know that you don't have the experience right now, but I can see that you have that passion and you're willing to learn. And that has been one of the huge reasons why we've wanted you to intern for our program. So it's really just about your approach, I guess. If you approach every day as a new way to learn and a new day to absorb all the information that you can, I think your internship will be very worthwhile. And I think the process of getting your internship will also be just as exciting for you as well.
I mean, how do I follow that? It really is about moments in your life, and you want to appreciate all the moments because the small details end up being the big things in your life. And I think for me, my core values that I think have landed me so many different opportunities, because this is an interview question. What are your core values? And I keep it simple. I use an acronym of CARE. So I'm coachable, accountable, respectful, and engaged. And when people hear those core values, they want to onboard you like the next day, because what organization doesn't want someone that thinks in that mindset? So I'd say my tips would be to take it day by day, because the internships, they are typically like 3 to 4 months, so they're short, but you can do a lot in 3 to 4 months. Like Reagan will tell you she's in a fellowship for a year, but she accomplishes so much. And so I would also be aware to take notes every day or at least weekly, so that you remember the experiences you had, and it gives you a deeper appreciation for what you've done.
Thank you. I have nothing to add, but I can attest. I'm going to speak very highly of Gabby real quick. She was one of our interns at UTMB this past summer when I started my fellowship. And at the end of her internship, her and her cohort members got to present in a symposium to our executive leadership. And they were there, they were at UTMB with us for 10 weeks, really 9 weeks, because that 10th week was prepping for their presentation. And our executive leaders were absolutely blown away by the level of impact that you can come in and make in 9 weeks. They want year round interns. They want to bring in tons more next summer. They were so excited for that impact that you can make just as an intern. So, really make the most of your opportunities. But with that, at this time, like I said, we'd love to open it up to all of you for questions. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Feel free to speak up. Don't leave this meeting without asking a question. You have 4 people here, 3 great panelists who have such great insight and provide you any advice, any answers. So, whether it's school, life, internships, feel free to ask.
How you guys doing? I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for this. Usually when you see webinars and stuff, you probably think it's a chore. You probably think you don't want to go to it. It's going to be boring, or, you're not going to get anything from it. But I feel like this was really good. I feel like I learned a lot, hearing from everyone who's had multiple internship experiences. I feel like I picked up on the method. And I just had a quick question on, when submitting your application for these internships, do you recommend a cover letter or no cover letter?
It depends on what the application calls for. Some people get so many that they can't even read a cover letter at times. So just be sure to follow the requirements for the different internships or even different opportunities.
I will add that as we enter summer internship application season, between this, start preparing your documents now. So don't wait until you read the application. Like, go ahead and develop your cover letter now, along with polishing your resume after every semester, and start asking for those letters of recommendation. Those are key in getting them done rather than later.
And I think for cover letters specifically, it kind of depends on each organization, because I know that I've asked personally, like, hey, do you guys need a cover letter? Is that something that you're looking for? And a lot of people have said no, like, we don't need that. And other people have been like, actually, you know what? Yes, I think that would be good, because we get to learn a little bit more about you through a cover letter. And so I think if you ever have any doubts about what's required, of course, go off of like the actual application process. What's in there is probably what they want. But one thing that could possibly help you stand out is just emailing cover letter regardless of whether they want one or not. And so I would go along that route of, like, if they have a very specific application process, stick to that. If they don't, then I would by default make a cover letter just to help you stand out a little bit more and tell them a little bit more about yourself, etc.
Great, thank you all. One question we have in the chat is, I was wondering what strengths, weaknesses, or skills in general did you find out about yourself during your experience that you will carry with you into the future experiences in your field?
I can start us with this one. So, if I think about strengths, I think I think strengths is very difficult for us to talk on because we're so hard on ourselves, and so it's like, when somebody asks me what my strengths are, I'm like, well, now I have to think about it. I'm not really sure. But one thing that I've been told by a lot of other people is that they like the fact that I like my communication skills, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, in as I mentioned earlier in interviews and stuff like that, people have told me directly, Trisha, we really like your passion. Like we want more people who are passionate about healthcare, and we see that in you. And so I think that has been the biggest strength for me. In being able to just go through these experiences and just life in general, because if people can see that you are passionate about what you are doing or even passionate about them as a person, right? I think building connections, building relationships, a lot of that comes from just internal curiosity. And people always like to feel valued and they like to feel listened to and they like empathy and stuff like that. And so I think that is something that I have learned through these internship experiences, and that I will definitely keep going moving forward. Thinking about skills in general, I would say soft skills are something that a lot of people, I don't want to say are lacking, but there's a lot more emphasis on technical skills than soft skills. And so people often forget that soft skills are just as important. So do not forget the soft skills are just as important. If you are more confident in the technical side, don't forget to hone in on your soft skills, and that definitely makes a big difference, especially in the interview process. And weaknesses. So I like to think of weaknesses as areas of improvement, right? We don't like to say like, oh yeah, we're bad at this and we're bad at that. But every single one of us has areas that we like to or want to improve. For me, mine is actually public speaking. I am not a huge fan of public speaking. I don't do it too often, and this is my first ever time speaking on a panel, and it was something that I said yes to because I knew that it was like important for me to be able to grow and develop, both personally and professionally. And so this is definitely out of my comfort zone, but um, I think that's part of the process, right? Is understanding where you um, want to grow and putting yourself in those situations to be able to do that.
Well, Trisha, you have done absolutely amazing tonight, so I see no reason for you to stress out about that, but
Appreciate that. Thank you.
day-to-day process for us all. So there was a question in the chat about a specific internship, and Adrian answered it, but the question was, I'm interested in learning more about the U of H College of Medicine internship. Is that internal, or how can one apply to that internship program? So I will say this, if there is an internship program that you are interested in and you don't know if it's internal or if you don't know how the application works, if, like all of our panelists said today, if you're able to find out who the previous interns are, maybe who the coordinator is, or if you're able to see that there's somebody in the organization that has interns, you can always reach out to them, and more than likely, most people are always willing to help you out and provide some insight. And that's just a great way to approach any situation. All right, another question we have is, how do you stay undiscouraged when you're getting rejection about internships or you receive rejection regarding an internship?
I'll answer this one because there's been an internship, and my friend right behind the laptop, he's actually done the Mayo Clinic internship, and that's one I've been wanting to get, just because of the number of hospitals in the world. So I've been rejected twice now, and it's really about God's timing. Those those experiences, me going through the application process, I'm getting better at reflecting on myself to answer these application questions. Practicing my interview skills, and so they build on each other. And I'm really big on faith, and I know it's God's timing, God's plan, it's not mine. And so if you have a faith that you can rely on, I think that will take you a long way. But I know it's hard. Rejections are never good, but if you look at them as lessons learned, because you do learn through the process.
Absolutely. I think that's a great perspective. Just always take it and move on from it. That's the best thing you can do. If you mull over it or if you let it bring you down, then it's only going to prepare you less for the next go around. So really take that experience of rejection, maybe take a look at your application materials, go find a mentor, go find a professor and sit down with them. Find some opportunities to do mock interviews if that's where you feel like you get caught up. Whatever you feel like your specific catch is in that process, or if you don't know, find those people to sit down and see if you can weed out those things and just go into the next day. That's the best thing you can do, is like Adrian said, keep trying. Everything will work out with its timing and everyone will end up where they're supposed to end up. Our next question is, what is the timeline for summer internship season applications? Should we apply within the following weeks or months?
I'll go ahead and speak to that since that's the phrase that I used just now. It just depends on the organization. Some organizations will be opening here soon. Others will wait till about January. I don't know that they follow a very specific timeline. I just remember from my experience last year that they all kind of fell back to back to back starting in January. So my advice here would be start preparing those documents and, like I said, letters of recommendation, because your professors or anyone who you reach out to, allow them that time to write a very robust letter for you. And any other specifics that you want to talk about, you can feel free to reach out to me or connect on LinkedIn and we can chat more about it.
Okay, that was the last question I see in the chat. If anybody has any final questions, feel free to ask them within the next few seconds. And if not, if we don't have anybody ask or speak up, then we will go ahead and conclude. But before we conclude, I just want to thank you again to all of our panelists for sharing your experiences, and thank you to all of you who joined us today. We hope this session gave you valuable insight as you prepare for your own internship journeys. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out